Okay, let's get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to West Texas A&M University, and today we welcome three distinguished guests from Amarillo. They are our industry leaders and successful entrepreneurs. And before I introduce our distinguished guests, let me talk about very briefly what digital marketing is. It is a $458 billion industry. Now, you can imagine in the last 20 years, we have come a long way. We were talking about other day, YouTube is only 17 years old. So we have come a long way. There are lots of things in the pipeline. And higher education as well as businesses, they have taken maximum benefit out of digital marketing and new media communication. So that's why we are here. $458 billion, and 90% is all, of course, online. And Google alone does what we call 2 trillion searches per year. And social media users, most of you are social media people, you spend about 140 minutes every day. And so this is a very big industry. It will hit 600 billion by 2025. So get ready in the next 5 to 6 years. We will witness revolutionary changes. And Internet of Things is a very big part of this industry. What else is new? It is made up of data, big data, data analytics. This is what we teach. This is a marketing class, and we have discussed all these things. Data analytics is a very big deal, and all the practitioners, including them, they are including data all the time. Google is taking care of 40,000 searches per second. Number of Google users, 2.1 billion people. So basically, there is a very big revolution going on, and 60% Google searches originate from mobile marketing. So this is where your digital marketing comes in. And one more data, number of videos watched per day, 1 billion. So now you can imagine how powerful this industry is. But of course, it has both sides of the story, which these distinguished speakers will talk about. And especially in the COVID era, lots of things have happened. And this industry is really getting a lot of benefit. So this is what I have. Wall Street Journal some years back did a special story, and I'm going to show it to you. And it says, Future of Digital Marketing in a Data Privacy World. It's a big survey they did, and Wall Street Journal ran another special survey. And this was 2016, and they openly said that big media needs to embrace digital shift, not fight it. And these people know what I'm talking about. But overall, lots of things are happening as we talk. This is Economist magazine, and they are talking about all the FANGs, which we have discussed here: Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. And they are also becoming part of your digital marketing, especially Apple. And so get ready down the road, the next 10 years, you will not believe what's going to happen. But of course, there are some issues also. That's why we have these speakers here, because the pace of competition has gone up big time. Okay? So let me introduce our distinguished guest today. Very briefly, Mr. Brad Tooley. I know him since 1987 when I started in WT. He's the CEO of Choice Media. Amarillo's a very big company in Billboards. But Brad, at one point, for many years, he also owned Canyon News, our favorite Canyon News newspaper from Canyon, Texas. Brad received his BBA from Texas Tech and Master's in Communication from WT, West Texas A&M University. Our second speaker, Mary Coyne, is the president and owner of Mcmc, Mary Coyne Marketing Communications, Amarillo. Previously, she worked for McCormick, which used to be a very big advertising agency in Amarillo. Has a wonderful experience, many years. She has worked for Fortune 500 companies, and she's a graduate of Texas Tech University. Our third speaker is Julianne Guy over there, and she's the director of digital marketing. So basically, she's hands-on. She's dealing with all the things. She's a graduate of University of Texas at Austin, and she also has her MBA from Texas State University. So we have wonderful experience in this room, and of course the class is Principles of Marketing. That's what we have been discussing in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, let's invite our first speaker, Mr. Brad Tooley.
Thank you, Dr. Anwar, and appreciate you guys showing up on a cold, cold day. I guess it's not as cold. 3 weeks ago, we were supposed to do this presentation, and that's the day we had ice and snow on the ground. And so anyway, they delayed that. It's kind of fun being here. The Classroom Center, I actually, even though I graduated from Texas Tech, I spent my freshman year here. I grew up in Florida, Texas. And so this was a new building. We call it the Banana Building. Do y'all still call it that? Eddie there, and I worked for the Prairie. And what's interesting about that is I noticed yesterday they're going to reopen the old education building. Is that what it's called? And with a generous donation from the Schaefer family. But when I was a freshman here, and I worked for the Prairie newspaper, my lab where I developed my Tri-X 400 film was down there in the basement of the old education building. They weren't using the building, but that's where our photo labs were. Anyway, that was neat connecting with that. And so I want to start out today, you talk about having an elephant in the room and how that needs to be addressed. But we're going to address the dinosaur in the room today. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm no spring chicken, but anyway, the dinosaur in the room is Billboard Advertising. It's hard to believe, but it's coming up on almost 200 years since it was first established. I don't know if you guys remember the P.T. Barnum circuses, but anyway, those guys started outdoor advertising, the big bulletins and stuff. And here today in 2022, really it's more dynamic than it is dinosaur outdoor advertising. And we'll talk about the connection with digital advertising real quickly. I started the Billboard company in 1992, so this is our 30th anniversary in doing, we started out as Canyon Outdoor Advertising because I started it kind of on the side as I ran the Canyon newspaper here. And my wife and I had a rent house, and we sold it for $9,000, and we were able to buy a handful of what they call woodies, about 10 billboard structures from here to La Mesa, Texas. And it's been a really blessed business. Today, we're fortunate to have over 1,000 billboard faces across Texas, eastern New Mexico, and western Oklahoma. And so it's grown a lot, and about 45 of those faces are digital billboard faces. Oddly, my son and I, we built the first digital billboard in Texas. It was in 2007, and it was in Hewitt, Texas. Y'all know where that is? It's basically Waco. It's if you didn't know, it wasn't Waco. Anyway, it's Hewitt, and that's where we built the first billboard in 2007. And so when we started the company in 1992, we actually, in our rented space, we had a giant wall, and we had a guy employed, and his job was to paint the billboards, if you can imagine that. I mean, you remember Alan Evankamp? Did you ever know Alan? Anyway, Alan, he had a sign business, and so if we would have somebody want to do a billboard, he would either bring the boards in and we'd put them on the wall and he would paint them, or we had a lift and he would go up actually on the billboard, and not a day quite as cold as today, but you can imagine there's not a lot of great days, especially in the winter and spring, and he would get up there and paint those boards. The guy was a phenomenal artist. Soon after that, they came out with these giant printers. They were large format printers, and they would print the message on big vinyls. And I don't know if you've ever seen one applied. We still do that today if it's not a digital billboard. And our guys climb around there and they wrap the billboards in this real thick vinyl. It'll last 2 or 3 years, sometimes not as much with our winds. And we've had them hit by tornadoes. And we have a digital actually all the way down in Corpus Christi that got hit by that Hurricane Harvey about 3 years ago. So anyway, when you guys are worried about the weather, know that I'm real worried about it, because we're in the outdoor business, and that's where things are going on for us. So I want to tell y'all, bring you up to date, and talk about I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of our footprint there that we're talking about. This is our billboard network. Of course, we started right here in Canyon. But anyway, everywhere there's a blue flag, we have billboards. Everywhere there's a star we have digital billboards across the state of Texas there. And then down, it's kind of detached, but a little small part down in the Corpus Christi area there. We talked earlier about the dinosaur and being dynamic. And it's interesting hearing Dr. Anwar talk about the companies, Google, Amazon, all of these high-tech things. And so I'm going to show you this list right here, and this will let you know how relevant billboards are. These are our top 20 advertisers on billboards, okay? And of course, McDonald's, that's a logical one, but Apple, Amazon, HBO, American Express, Google, Netflix, down number 20 at the bottom is Universal Pictures, and so anyway, I just put that up there early to let you know that they're still a big part of a good marketing mix. If you look at our industry and who uses billboards, those are some of the companies. This is a list right here of the top 10 industry areas that use billboards. I don't want to block this, but anyway, whenever we have billboards available, these are the industries that we usually go through. Sometimes we go to these through an advertising agency, like Mary Coyne and I have been working together. We were talking about a long time there, and she used to work for McCormick, which was it'll surprise you, is out of Amarillo, but it's a really large advertising agency that impacted the industry. But anyway, number one, miscellaneous services and amusements. This would be like Wonderland Park, but it would also be like Disney World. Just anybody dealing in the amusement industry. Retail advertising, that's easy. That's Barnes Jewelry, that's Westgate Mall, that's your retailers. This is a huge category for us, insurance and real estate. As you go around looking at billboards in our market, you'll see a lot of Farmers Insurance and State Farm. And the insurance companies believe so strongly in billboards and outdoor advertising that they do a co-op plan, which means they'll pay a percentage. Like if the agent will spend $300 a month on a billboard, Farmers will pay $150 a month of it, because they want to get their branding with that agent in the market there. Restaurants, that's an easy one. This is a good category, media and advertising. Oddly, other medias use billboards. Of all traditional, they use it the most. Like one of our big customers is KAMR, Nexstar, and they do billboards with us in Amarillo, Clovis, Midland, Odessa, different markets. And they like the digitals because, of course, they can change them and they can say, The Voice premieres tonight. Today, if you drive by one of their billboards, you'll see one here on I-27, one of our digitals, and it'll say, watch our weather at 6 o'clock, a big storm coming. That's how dynamic it is, and other media uses it. Government, politics, and organizations. I don't know what you think about politics, but I always think of it as money, because those guys buy billboards, okay? And there's an election coming up, and so politics is a good category for us. Government, I tell you, I was just talking to Mary. They've got, I guess it's a government entity that needs to get a lot of information out about the COVID-19 vaccinations. And so that COVID was a really bad on the outdoor industry, if you can imagine, because for a period there, people weren't outdoors, okay? They weren't driving. And so we took a dip in business, not us just, but industry-wide, because we sell traffic counts, and we sell outdoor impressions. And so there was, I mean, it's just obvious, you know, I mean, we had to call our advertisers and say, I know this is crappy, you know, how can we help you, you know? And some of them we had to just take, I mean, they were out of business. Hotels, that's one of our big categories, and we had to go down for them. But anyway, public transportation, hotels and resorts, we do a lot of Holiday Inns, a lot of Hamptons, that kind of thing. Financial is a big category. If you think of it, you know, all the banks, all of the world finance, all those kind of things. Like my biggest personal customer is Happy State Bank, and they do billboards and digital billboards across Texas with me. And automotive dealers and services, that's another area. This used to be a big category for us. But these guys, because of COVID, they can't get any cars, and so they still don't want to advertise as much. Can you imagine that there? But it's coming back for us there. And then the last one, schools, camps, and seminars. You know, there's a new charter school in Canyon. It's called Premier. And if you'll notice, they're doing a lot of billboards with us right now, talking about, especially they do drone classes and that kind of thing. So they're using us there. So that kind of explains those industries to you and how they use it. This is kind of interesting, but billboards, even though they're almost 200 years old, they're the fastest growing traditional media, okay? It doesn't mean they're the largest. When I say traditional, I'm talking TV, radio, newspapers. Those are all having declining revenues, but outdoor advertising is increasing. And so it's the fastest of all of traditional medias as far as growing it there. And then it's the top traditional media that's used by other medias. In other words, to draw attention to their media. It's outdoor. You guys need to know this. You guys may want to start running some billboards. But anyway, it's the number one for drawing people to a website or to social media. And so it works just really well with digital advertising there.
We've run boards before that are just a URL.
Yeah. So, yeah, right. Yeah, you just put, you know, Amazon.com or something like that, you know, and so that gets people to that website and a lot of information you can't do in that 7-second read on a billboard there. So does anybody know the term, if I said CPM, does anybody know that? Somebody. Brad, you got it? What is it?
Wasn't that an operating system?
My gosh, you may be older than you look, dude. But anybody else on CPM? So in the industry, CPM is cost per thousand, okay? And it's cost per thousand views, okay? And so and y'all will correct me on this, but for digital internet advertising, the cost per thousand averages, I've got $5.19 per thousand. Can y'all go with that? Okay.
I'll roll with it.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So anyway, if you're looking at the Weather Channel and there's a little banner at the bottom, that's an impression, okay, or potential impression, okay? On billboards, the cost per thousand runs about half of that. It's about $2.50 per thousand, and it's not that little bitty banner at the bottom, but it's usually a giant bulletin and stuff there, okay? So I'm going to sound a little biased because I am about billboards, okay? So billboards are also great for targeting. Right here you can see, this is Roasters. This is a billboard we're doing for them right now, and this is over on Georgia. And so their location is 2 blocks from here. The traffic count right here on Georgia is 38,000 cars a day, okay? And so this, I don't know how you can target any better. I mean, you could do geofencing, but this is hitting their target market, letting them know. Now, oddly, that Roasters has been around since 1992. I need to call Craig Galtier, and we celebrate our 30th anniversaries together there on that deal there.
I think that to the left of that's the new palace, isn't it?
Huh?
The new Palace coffee, I think, is just right across the street from that board.
Oh, yeah, they're spreading all, and he's starting to spread out some too there. So, and then the other thing I'd like to tell you about billboards are, they're really good to keep business local. And you guys know, and I do this too, it's just so easy to go to Amazon and spend your money there. And when you do, the city doesn't get the sales tax money, and the dollar doesn't, I don't know, it has a 7 times multiplier if you were going to spend your dollar here. And so if you needed a hat and you wanted to order a Stetson hat and you did it on Amazon, that wouldn't benefit the local economy like if you went down to West Texas Western store and bought your hat and let them fit you for some boots and that kind of thing. And so, like, you know, we have a billboard there on Sonsa, you've probably seen it, West Texas Western store in West Cape Mall and in Canyon. And so it reminds people you can buy these things. You don't have to buy everything on the internet and everything on Amazon. It keeps it local there. And so the way that billboards are dynamic, of course, especially on the digitals, I have a McDonald's customer in Levelland, Brownfield, and in Lubbock. And they day part out the billboard. Like at 5 in the morning, we start running breakfast items. And then at 10:30, we switch over to lunch items. You know, we're flipping them up on the digital. At 2 o'clock, they switch and they've got a 32-ounce Coke for $1. And so they put that on there. And so as these people are picking up their kids from school and stuff there, they'll go there instead of Sonic or somewhere else, reminding them of that. So they're using it, and then at 5 o'clock we switch back to their dinner menu. So I use that as an example to let you know how they can really use those effectively. When we had that hurricane hit down in Aransas Pass, as soon as we got power back, we had that on, and we could use it, messages for the city. Here's where you can get water. Here's where you can get help, that kind of thing. You've seen them used for Amber Alerts. They're a lot of fun for just things that happen, like when Coach Beard left Texas Tech basketball team, I think it was right after the season last year. Of course, Red Raiders are upset about that, and you went to the University of Texas, you get the whole picture. But anyway, Mark Adams, that used to coach here at WT, that used to cover at the Canyon News, they named him as the head coach. So we got a picture of him and just immediately congratulated him, you know, there in Lubbock on our digitals there. So you can just use them for real time, that kind of thing. Today, I thought just to get the point across, I was going to shoot you guys a picture, okay? I don't know how we gather you up. And then I was going to put y'all on our billboard, our digital, the one at Hillside and I-27 as you come in. Put it up there for 24 hours and kind of salute the future marketing people of the. So do we want to do that at the end of the deal? Is just a quick picture? Would that be okay, Dr. Anwar? Anyway, just to get across to you guys the idea that how immediate this media is there. So y'all remind me of that, okay? Austin, will you be in charge of reminding us of that? I can do that. Okay, good deal. And so anyway, I've got just a couple of more slides here. In 2015, Nielsen did a study of digital billboards in several markets: Atlanta, Cincinnati, Minneapolis, Phoenix, and Tampa. And they did a study, are people using them and stuff there? And here's some of the results there. You guys can read. Do travelers notice digital billboards? Whoops. Sorry about that, right there. Okay. And so they did these surveys, and there it is right there. And 75% said they noticed a digital billboard in the past month. 60% said they noticed one in the past week there. Do digital billboard messages get noticed? 55% said that they were highly engaged and could recall the messages that they had seen on a digital billboard. Directional digital billboards. Do digital billboards guide consumers? In other words, over 1/3 of those who noticed a digital billboard have noticed digital billboard signage providing directions to a nearby store, a business, or a restaurant. And I think this is interesting. 22% of them, over 20%, said they changed their plans to visit based on a message that they got. So it'd be like I'm driving in Amarillo, you guys do too. Where are we going to eat lunch today? Well, if it pops up Red River Steakhouse has lunch specials starting at $6.99. We go, you know what I mean? They put a big chicken fried steak up there. So anyway, you can use them like that in that immediate there. This is a deal about the breaking news, and I told you about that Amber Alerts. You know who the largest owner of digital billboards is in Texas? Who? Lamar. I thought we weren't going to mention them. No, but that's a great guess. But no, it's TxDOT. You know, as you drive along the highway and it says, watch for icy conditions, they have these little rhymes, don't drive drunk or you'll end up as a punk or something. You know, they do these messages anyway. And so that's how much they believe in them, you know, is they've got them out there. And so the last thing is, how much time do we spend in our cars? And that's where we're going to see these billboards. And you guys know this. The average number of miles traveled per week is 153 miles. And if you think of it, that's about, 5 or 6 trips to Amarillo and Canyon and back and stuff there. And so that gives you the exposure to the outdoor advertising. This is the last graph I've got, and it shows you, how many hours per day that people are in their billboards, and that's relevant because that's when you're going to see it. We have these huge traffic counts that TxDOT provides to us, and people still, they need to keep their eyes open while they're driving, and so they're pretty valid traffic counts and a good way to measure your message. So anyway, that's my presentation on the dinosaur and the dynamics of billboards. Do you guys have any questions that I can answer for you, or any comments? Yes?
Do you plan on focusing more, like making more digital billboards in the future, or are you going to do kind of both, like the traditional and the digital?
That's a great question. What's your name? Valerie. So Valerie asked about, where do we want to go in the future? There'll always be a place for traditional billboards. Holiday Inn doesn't need a billboard that does all this. They want to always buy. They've been doing with me and KOA for 30 years. Holiday Inn, next exit ahead. There's just a place for those billboards. The digital, right now we're ordering digitals because we have some great locations. And selfishly, we can make a lot more money out of putting a digital there. And they're just so fun. Like in my office, I can look at my computer and I can click Midland, Odessa, and look at our billboards there, and I can see if it's snowing or whatever's going on there. I can just look at them across the country. So yeah, we'll continue to grow, but there'll always be a place for traditional. Anybody else? Okay, Dr. Anwar, I'll turn it over to you.
One question I have,
Okay.
Brad. Tell us at the national level, what are the trends in the next 6-7 years? As we discussed, all the giant companies coming in. So where do you fit yourself?
So I tell you, this is a really good. It's all, I call it futuristic. It's almost here. They're coming up with better ways to measure people's eyes on the billboards, and that's relevant for people at ad agencies. They want to know, and so they've got really sophisticated technology. It's almost scary what they can do, but it'll being able to measure who is looking at the billboard, and what their demographics are, and that kind of thing. There'll be more of that coming up, and then the deal that Valerie asked is you'll see more and more digital billboards there. Okay. Anybody else? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, good presentation, Brad. I enjoyed that very much. It really is a changing medium and exciting to be part of outdoor advertising, isn't it? You were a newspaper guy when I first met you. Now you're an outdoor guy and doing really well, and I'm proud of what you've accomplished. And I'm proud of all of you for being here. It's very cold outside, so you all must be the hardy ones here, and so I'm glad to have you in the room today.
When I was in school, this would have been enough of an excuse to cut class.
So
No,
good
block
for you. Okay, we have a business consultant, and it's kind of like a therapist for your business. So we talk about all kinds of things, and so we asked him the other day, what do business owners that you consult with think about digital marketing? And here's what he said. He said, well, they kind of say, well, it's voodoo, it's black magic. I don't understand how it works. I don't know what I'm getting for my budget. Who knows if it's working or not? I want to know how to determine who really knows what they're doing. Because I can't really tell. You know, people in business don't have a real expertise in this area of digital marketing. So they don't have a lot of confidence in the folks that are coming to them and saying, oh, I can do all your social media and your advertising and on all these platforms and all
Also,
of that.
about 5 years ago, everybody decided that they could do like Facebook marketing, and they all just like got clients before they learned how to do it. And it, I think, scared a lot of people off.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, what my job here is kind of anchor us about digital marketing, because it is important. It is a huge piece, as Dr. Anwar said, about advertising, but it also needs to be used judiciously. Because sometimes just a traditional outdoor board is the best way to go.
I'm really glad we were paired up with Brad, because we're going to talk a lot about thinking about the ROI of what you're doing, the return on investment. And I mean, sometimes billboards are going to be your best option to
Absolutely.
get that return on investment. But as you mentioned, they're a part of a marketing mix. You want to mix a bunch of different tactics together.
So
to
what
make
we
things
want
more effective.
to do is be effective, right? We keep our clients because we are effective, and they know and they trust us, and they have confidence that what we're doing for them is actually working. So we're going to talk about how we make that happen. Okay, so the way to counter some of those reactions from clients is you talk about you start with a plan. What are your objectives? What are you trying to accomplish? You know, the hotel is trying to get somebody to rent a room that night, right? McDonald's is trying to get you to have breakfast that morning. So know what it is that your client wants to accomplish, and then know what kinds of people want those kinds of services. Really understand your market. Don't just assume that everybody thinks like you do and everybody's behavior is like yours, because it's not. It's one of the things that's really challenging in this world is to tell your clients, you know what? You're not really the target market. We are here to tell you who is your customer. We're helping you understand that so that you can actually get a message to them that will resonate with them and hopefully create some action.
Though sometimes that's one of the hardest parts about digital marketing, because if your client isn't their customer, then they're not necessarily going to see your ads. If you're not targeting them, they're not going to see them, and so they're going to be wondering even more, am I doing the right thing? Is my money doing anything at all? So you have to make it really clear who you're talking to.
Yes, and that gets us on down these bullet points. The platform that best reaches your audience sometimes is a platform that your client's not on. So you've got to really help them understand why you chose that platform and have a really good rationale, because that's where your customers' eyeballs are. And then figure out what budget really works for your clients. That's a really important thing. And then provide them with some metrics. What is it that you have accomplished with that budget?
This is still you.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the fundamentals before we get all the way to digital. This is not a time for shortcuts, and you got to get the basics right. You got to set that strong foundation for the future of the campaigns and the advertising that you want to do. So again, a thorough understanding of your customers. What do they want? What do they need? What are they afraid of? What's their buying behavior? How do they browse the internet? How do they find things on the internet? Easy to use, highly functional, and highly converting website that meets the user's needs. This is one of the things that you all know this. When you go to a website, and you're thinking you're going to get some piece of information, and you go there and you're looking all over the
Can't
place.
find your way around.
And it's not there. It's very frustrating, right? If it's not easily navigated and all of that.
And there's somebody else whose website is easily navigable. So
Right.
you're going to
'Cause
jump
they
off
just-
to somewhere else.
They just click over and find another one. Providing value to your customers. Value is a really important word in advertising. If you're not providing value and you can't prove that, you don't have a future in this business. Reaching customers at each stage of the funnel. Who knows about the sales funnel? Who's ever heard of a sales funnel? Okay, so there's
Brad, what is it? What are the stages?
Brad, you want to talk about the sales funnel? Okay, good.
Fair
All
enough.
right. So there's an acronym, AIDA, A-I-D-A. Let's see if I get it right.
Because you haven't turned to your cheat sheet page.
So I've got to get this microphone in front of my face, but you got a funnel, and at the top of it is awareness. You're trying to get the customer aware of what it is you're selling and what you want them to do. Then you get to
Interest.
Thank you. Then
I
you
was
get
in marketing school much more recently than she
Yeah,
was.
that's right. That's right. I need a cheat sheet right in front of me. So then you get to interest. Once they're aware, then you're hoping to move them to be interested in what it is you're talking about. And then you've got the
Desire.
decision.
No.
Desire? No, it's decision.
No. A is action. The end is action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then you've got to make them really want that product to get to the last A, which is action. So you're trying to move people through this process. They find out about your product. Then they get interested. Then they're going to get closer to a decision and making some action to buy that or do whatever it is you're asking them to do. So we're trying to get people all the way through that funnel, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in some other examples. But
And then when you lose them from that funnel, this last bullet point is recapturing them. So bringing them back into the fold. They got on your website and didn't find what they wanted. You want to find a way to help bring them back in.
And we have ways of doing that on digital now. We've seen their digital footprint. They were there. They've left. You can grab them and pull them back.
All right, this is the last bit of medicine, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. But we like to tell people that the shiniest option is not always the most effective. So a decade ago, everybody wanted an app. You know, these iPhones were new, and everybody wanted to have an app. But it was basically just a duplication of the business's website. Didn't provide any extra value. Why would you want to take up the 16 gigs or whatever you had on your phone at the time for that app? So nobody was downloading these apps. People were spending a bunch of money, and they had very few people actually using their apps. Today, everybody's starting a podcast, and nobody wants to get 10 extra podcasts that they don't really care that much about. So thinking about whether it's really a good fit for your audience, there might be a better option. You know, podcasts are interesting, and people are spending a lot of time on podcasts. They are trendy right now. But maybe finding a podcast that's already talking to your audience is going to be a better route. You could advertise on it. You could become a guest. You can find a way to use their audience instead of having to build your own from scratch. Mary, you were going to start on email.
Okay, email marketing. What is effective these days? Okay, tell me, how many of you get on your email account and look at your email every day? Ah, things have changed a little bit. A few years back, if I'd asked a college audience, very few people would have said, I get on it every day. They might look at it once a week or whatever, but as you age and as you get into the working world and you're on your computer all day long in most of the jobs that you will have, email is really, really effective. And you don't always think about that. You think, you know, but if you look at your own email, you're advertised to a lot on that, right? People are finding your address and they're advertising to you, and sometimes it's not relevant, but often it is, because they knew that you were a college student, you were at that stage in your life that you had things that you had needs that they could fulfill.
Yeah. And, kind of the flip of billboards, email has done a whole lot better in the pandemic. 78% of marketers have seen an increase in email engagement over the last 12 months. People are opening their emails more, they are reading all the way through, they're clicking links and going to the website and finding out more information. The other big thing about email that I love is that the return on investment for it is $42 for every dollar that you spend. So it's pretty inexpensive, and it's got a big return for many businesses. Also, shoppers spend 138% more if they've been marketed to via email than if they haven't. So it really does bring a lot of money in, especially if you're an e-commerce business. These people are selling money trees, and I'm sure that they did really well.
It looks like marijuana, but it's just
It's a money
trees.
tree.
Okay,
It's a
good.
money tree.
Okay, so it's not what
Good
you
for
thought
calling
it
that
was.
out, though. Not showing you guys any weed. Don't worry. All right, this one I hate the most because Facebook's the worst, but it is still one of the most effective ways that you can spend your money today. 70% of adults in the U.S. are still on Facebook every single day. So even though probably a lot of you are like, oh, why would I ever put any of my time into Facebook, any of my money? There is a really good return on being on there, and it's important to still spend a business's money there.
We really don't like Facebook for a lot of reasons. There is still a lot of misinformation on Facebook, and what galls me a lot of times is that we have to advertise on Facebook to reach the people that Facebook gave misinformation to, and so that's part of why we have a little grudge against Facebook, but we still spend money on it because that's where people are.
Also,
And
the thing about Facebook that makes it where you want to spend your money over any other social platform is that they do have the very best targeting of any social platform out there. Even as privacy is increased, you can really target the right audience, which gets you some of the best conversion rates among social media platforms.
Yeah, and I want to just mention here, if you look at this chart, you've got at the top, what's effective today? Which advertising channels have the highest conversion rate? You know what conversion is? It's when people actually do what you've asked them to do, what your call to action was. Buy this product, go to this restaurant, whatever those things are.
Stay at our hotel tonight.
Yeah. The top two things are Google and Bing on this. What is most effective? Going back to that funnel, awareness and interests are at the top of that. You don't have to worry if you're doing search advertising on Google. You don't really have to worry too much about those people who need to know what your product is or get interested in it, because if they're searching for that product, they already know about it and they're already interested in it. They're interested enough to type in the name of your product and find out some more about that. So you're already way ahead of the game. You've got an audience there that really has some understanding, and you're not trying to build all that stuff at the top of the funnel. They're already ready to start making a decision and taking action.
And so one of the things that I think about with this is, Google and Bing have far and away better conversion rates than Facebook or Instagram or any of the others on the list. That said, depending on your industry, your cost per click on Google or Bing is going to be higher than it would be through any of the social media platforms. So you just have to balance that and think through what's going to get you the most customers for the least amount of money.
Right. It's a math problem.
It is a math problem. Those of you who got into marketing because you hate math, I've got bad news for you. Another piece that's really effective today is interactivity. So how many of you watch Hulu and get those interactive ads that you have to do something before it moves on? Yeah. A lot of us, probably it's not really a great fit for you at this point. I don't know. I get a lot of ones that are like, do you need a new home loan? I don't need a new home loan. But people do want more opportunities to engage. This one lets you look at the car in different colors, and you do have to pay more attention to the ad because you have to engage before it'll let you go on to your next bit of the show. So it does get people's attention. That sounds like you, Mary. You have to get people's attention and hold it with these interactive ads. And so it's a way to a way to do that. The set of ads on the left is called HTML5. If any of you have kind of a technology bent, learning HTML5 and how to use it for ads is going to be the way to get a really good job when you graduate. Oh.
So sorry.
Technology is hard for me some days.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is interactive. We brought a special guest. Influencer marketing, probably when you hear that, you think of Kim Kardashian or any of those big ones. But they have changed the market. You think of in all kinds of ways. Yes, beauty products that Kim Kardashian sells, but also like books have been sold a lot more because some teenage girl is holding it up and crying and talking about it on TikTok. So there are ways in which finding an influencer to talk about your product will actually get you sales. Yeah, there's Kim Kardashian and all that. She's really expensive. But the real sweet spot for a lot of businesses are these, what they call micro-influencers. So they are influencers with an audience between 10,000 and 100,000. And they often have better price point. Their audience actually engages with them more because they feel like they know them. I don't know if any of you have influencers that you follow on Instagram or TikTok or any of those.
Does anybody?
Any of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they the giant ones, or are they a little bit more that yeah.
Micro.
Yeah. And so when they're more personal to you, you actually take their opinions with a little more value, and you might buy the thing that they talked about. So it's a real opportunity for businesses to find a new audience and get people to be excited about their brand. Let's see what else we got here. SEO. So this is where my heart is. This is what I did before I came to Amarillo. I've been doing search engine optimization since the wild, wild west days. And back then, you pick the biggest keyword that people search the most, and you optimize your website for it as best you can, because that's your ticket to getting everybody to come. It's not really the case anymore. Google is much, much smarter than they were a decade ago. They were not very smart back then. You could hide words everywhere and do all kinds of shady things. They figured all of that out. It's not how it works. So now you have to think about how your audience is searching and make sure that what you're putting up there matches their search intent. And this graphic has a few different pieces. So there's informational searches. That's just, I want to know what a flux capacitor is. Do you guys know what a flux capacitor is at all? Back to the Future. You should watch Back to the Future. It's a good movie. You need the education, the cultural education, guys. Then there's navigational searches. So I want to find this specific branded flux capacitor. Transactional ones, I want a free trial of it. I want the best price. I'm making that choice that I want to buy something. So the page is going to really drive you to buying something. And then commercial ones are where you're looking into the product. You want to know which one's the best, which one is going to help you get somewhere the fastest, or the most fuel-efficient car. So you want to answer that search intent with the page that you're targeting that keyword to. And then more content, because this is where my heart is, so I'm just going to talk about it forever, guys. Long-form content has been in for a while. People Google likes long content that answers a lot of questions. And if you can structure it really well so that people can find what they want to know in that content, as a winning strategy. My favorite strategy that isn't talked about very much, but is, I think, going to be big in the next couple of years, is the wedge strategy. And so the wedge strategy is, say I'm selling greeting cards, and I really want to beat Hallmark, but I just started selling greeting cards. I'm probably not going to beat Hallmark today. So I'm going to pick a really narrow keyword to try to win. Maybe Halloween greeting cards, something that Hallmark's really not going to fight me for. I'm going to try to be the best at Halloween greeting cards. And then from there, I'm going to get into fall greeting cards. And I'm going to get bigger and bigger until I can finally be the best at the greeting cards in search engines. Let's see if my video works. Yes, it does.
Okay, so video was really big before the pandemic, and it is really exploded over the last couple of years. Why is that? people are at home a lot more. They're on their computer a lot more because they're not out with their friends and all of that. So video is a huge thing. Video can add a lot of trust to a product, to product advertising. Once you've seen it, and maybe you've seen a demonstration of it or see how it works, it can make you feel like, oh, yeah, I can trust these people. It looks like that's a good product. Video is the go-to for many influencers, right? Your influencer is probably talking to you through video. Video provides the opportunity to entertain. You know, how much time do we spend every day watching some videos that are just funny and fun?
And we need some escapism in the last couple of years, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and a lot of these use humor, and just like these two
Cute
dogs,
puppies.
they're just fun and kind of make you smile.
It also reminds you of a brand. So are all of you on TikTok? Am I about right in assuming that everybody in here is on TikTok? Did you see the Applebee's dance? I don't know. There was a big dance that blew up. I don't know. And a bunch of people watched this dance about you getting fancy and going to Applebee's and getting an Oreo milkshake. People started going to Applebee's and getting Oreo milkshakes. Applebee's didn't even have their Oreo milkshakes at the time. Stores had to buy Oreos so that they could make these milkshakes. Finally, Applebee's brought it back because it got so big. So reminding people that you exist, I don't know, a lot of people haven't been to Applebee's in a long time and went because they saw that it was on TikTok. They're like, yeah, I could use an Oreo milkshake today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then there's using technology to become more efficient. So the big thing over the last year and a half or so is called GPT-3. That's a really hard thing to remember, but it is AI that is used to write things for people, and it writes really well. It's not like the robot writing that you remember from a long time ago. It's not like those memes that you'll see where people had a robot watch 1,000 Hallmark movies and then they wrote their own Hallmark movie. It's actually good and reliable writing, and so you can use it as a starting place. I don't ever say let the robots do everything for you because you can't hold a robot accountable, but you can have them start and give you just a head start on getting something written. This one that we have a little GIF here of writes Google ads for you. And you know, it knows, you give it a little bit of information, it knows the character limits and all of that, and can give you a bunch of ads to have a starting place on.
Yeah, so you can look at some headlines and
Yeah.
figure out, is that the right one, or tweak it a little bit and go to town. Okay.
Also, collaboration between brands. There's a lot of opportunities to find another brand who talks to a very similar audience as you do. The one that I always think of on here is GoPro and Red Bull. They have a very similar audience. A lot of boys who want to stay up all night and want to go and skateboard.
Adventurers.
They're
some-
adventurers.
Mhm, yes.
And so they worked together to, they strapped all of the like Red Bull branded athletes on with GoPros. And so now they both have a bunch of content that they can share together. Mac and Disney, Mac made a Disney themed line so you can, I don't know, have Cinderella's eyeshadow or something. Airbnb had a Lego themed Airbnb so that families who have a child who's obsessed with Lego could go and stay in this Lego Airbnb. And Apple and Nike, of course, did a bunch of collaborations to get Apple technology into Nike products.
Wearables.
Yeah, wearables. Is this me or you? I think it's me. Yeah. So I've hired about 150 marketers in my time. And so I always like when I'm talking to students to tell them how to position themselves, because there's a really good way to get a job when you get out of school, and it's to show somebody that you're going to provide the most value of any other candidate. So I like to talk about first, approach spending your money strategically. You want to consider the ROI of every single investment. You know, don't just do something because it's trendy. Don't say, well, everybody else is starting a podcast, I should too. You want to think about what's going to be the return on in this investment. Is it going to be worth our money? Is it going to be the best use of our money? And then I like talking about being a T-shaped marketer. So the idea here is that you have a wide range of knowledge, but it's all pretty shallow. Then you have one place that you've gone really deep, that you know everything about that. You're the person that people turn to when there's a question about X. But you're proficient everywhere else.
But in marketing these days, with as many options as we have to advertise, it's almost impossible to be an expert in every one of
No.
those things. That's
Yeah.
what she's talking about. But know and understand enough about it so that you can talk about it.
And so you can know when you need to call Brad up and say, Brad, tell me about these digital billboards.
Yeah, what could I do with
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Another one is absolutely learn basic HTML before you get out of school. Don't hide behind, oh, I'm not a coder. That's somebody else's job. Learn the bare minimum. It's not all that hard. There are like 3 principles that you need to learn, and then you can do it all from there. And if you know that, like, people are going to say, oh, well, at least they're trying on this. And you're not going to always have to turn to your developer or whoever's around who does know how to code to say, can you add some HTML to this? You don't need to learn how to, make things that are super interactive. You just need to know how to do the bare minimum. And then connecting your data to decisions. So the thing that I've seen for a long time is that there are people who come out of school and they're like, I love data. Data is the best. I am always looking at the data. But they don't know how to use that data to actually make a good decision, and then how to tell people why that data told them that that was the right decision. So figure that out. Talk to Dr. Anwar and find out how you can really tie that data into making smart decisions that help your business grow.
That kind of rationale, giving that to a client is gold.
It gives them that confidence.
They don't know those things, and you coming to them with that information is great. Okay, that's our presentation, but Julianne can answer questions if you guys have any. Anything you want to talk about, or comments about anything, influencers, or any part of digital marketing?
Yeah.
So at your guys' company, what do you guys do? Do you hire marketers, or do you work with other businesses and tell them marketing strategies, or?
Yeah. We have a pretty wide base of clients, and they're in a lot of different industries. We just have had expertise over the last many years of being able to deal with lots of industries. What they come to us for, and we try to dig in and understand what they do. We have everything from an electric cooperative to healthcare clients. And so, they come to us because we have some expertise, and we've kind of put our stake in the ground as our company in crisis communications, which is actually a piece of PR. We help clients through difficult situations to communicate their way through those things, and we do that all the time. You'd be surprised at how many clients just locally that we help them get through some sticky situations. We only work for the good guys.
Yeah.
Lots of bad things happen to good people.
We don't want to do anything that makes us feel gross when we go home at night.
We don't help people break the law or anything like that. But anyway, so we do crisis communications, but we do advertising and PR, and so we create a whole interaction between all of those pieces of marketing to help our clients. Yeah. Anything else? No.
You talked about being a team marketer, which I think is really cool. I wonder, in the lifespan of a career, though, how do you make sure that you keep your stake, in something?
We come to people like you, Andrea.
It's true.
To teach us.
I think a lot of it, though, so for me, search engine optimization is my favorite. I love it so much. And so I read about it every single day. I devote at least 30 minutes every day to reading about the news and finding out what's going on. Google changes their algorithm, I think it's 400 times a year. And so there's always news. There's always something to find out. And so I read a lot. But I've also had, in my last company, I had my stake in the ground was that, but then people needed other things. And so then by the end, as your career grows, you may get multiple stakes in the ground. You may end up being a pie-shaped marketer, I don't know. But you will have opportunities to find other places to really dive deep as well.
Yeah, and the good news, I think, is that college isn't the end of learning, man, because things change so often. And, just the time you all have been in college, digital marketing has changed incredibly. There's so many different things. So if you don't keep up, you're out of business. So,
And I mean, there are people like Andrea who have lifelong learning opportunities, but there's also, I'm completely self-taught. I found everything, I had mentors and all of that, but they didn't have this when I was in school. I went to a PRSSA meeting my maybe junior year of college, and one girl said that her internship was in SEO, and I went home and typed in ESSEO trying to figure out what that was. And because nobody had ever mentioned it in school. So don't feel like just because you don't have a class in one of these subjects means that you can't become an expert in that at some point in time.
that's right. Okay, Brad?
This may be for any of the three of you, but I'm sure you have clients who come to you with specific ideas about what they want to do, and yet you know that their ideas do not suit the media that they want to use well, and so on. Just curious about how do you help clients back away from a bad idea?
Yeah, sometimes you do have to disabuse people of a notion that they have that, they really want to just be on Spotify or whatever that thing is. It may be right for them, and it may be part of the mix, but it may not be the entire thing. And so you got to ease them in with some data, I think, is part of it. Brad, what do you do?
When he asked that, I think about us using focus group. A lot of times using a focus group, you know what I mean? Because you think everybody thinks like you do, and you've got a client that thinks everybody thinks like they do, and just say, hey, let's spend a little bit of money and get 20 people together and bounce these ideas off of them, So.
Yeah. If none of that works, what I do is I tell them, okay, but we're going to track the data. And then I try to show them later why they got it wrong, or maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes I've been wrong before too.
Yeah.
But I will often say, well, let's test it. Because that way you're not the jerk saying you have bad ideas. This is the way we need to spend money after we find the results.
Yeah, and usually people come along when they see how their ad spend worked or didn't work. But focus groups are a really, really good strategy.
Yes, they are.
It's someone else. It's your customers telling you what they need, want, how they look at media and those kinds of things. We're doing one tomorrow, so
yeah, we are.
We really
focus
believe in doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Question. So which technologies do you think may be changing at the speed of light? Because you mentioned, algorithms, AI, virtual reality. Any comment on those changing technologies?
It's all changing so fast. One thing that digital out of home, I think, has so many cool new things that it's doing. I can walk past a mall, if I'm at the mall in a large city, they have screens that will bounce off my phone and know who I am and change the ad because somebody wanted to advertise directly to me. So I think that's got some really interesting pieces. Obviously, geofencing has some really cool applications that people are using more and more now. And Google with its changes in the algorithm all the time. It's just getting smarter and smarter is what's happening. And as we care more and more about our own privacy, all of the technology is going to have to change to adapt to that. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, any other questions, comments?
Yeah.
Have you ever advertised for a company that ended up going out of business shortly after they started?
I have. So before I came back to Amarillo, I was working for an e-commerce company. And so we had small e-commerce businesses from around the country who would come to us to set up their online store. And oftentimes they woke up one day and said, I want to sell socks online. Didn't really have a great idea of how running a business works or any of that. And so we had to, try to help coach them through that. But just not everybody's fit for running a business. And so people do, put a lot of money into trying to market their business, and then they just don't make it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Oh, one more question over there.
Yeah.
So a lot of these influencers, they find niches and kind of stick to them. Is that the wedge strategy?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of a different take on it than what I was thinking about. I think about it because my background is search engine optimization, so that's where I think about it. But I think from a social strategy, yeah, definitely starting really targeted and finding an audience who, wants to play Dungeons and Dragons and wants your advice in that, and then expanding out to other games or any of those things is a good strategy. Thanks, everybody.
Before we finish,
It's been a great audience, thank you.
on behalf of the College of Business, we would like to give you a little souvenir, and Mary, one for you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Before we conclude, I just want to make a few comments. And these, in front of you, we have these successful entrepreneurs and leaders from our area. And they are wonderful role models. And as Brad specifically mentioned, that billboards are no longer dinosaurs. And then we talked about advertising, and it is dealing with your real media, real time. And so please keep track of all the changes. You are the future leaders, and you will be dealing with these technologies. But every semester, a couple of times, we do these kind of seminars just to help you understand what's going on in our area. And you have to interact with the business community. That's the best way to go. And our university has done a wonderful job in terms of bringing people to Canyon, Texas. But overall, it was a wonderful deal. I learned a lot, and so many things are changing. But let's give a hand to our speakers for their. And we are adjourned. Thank you.